What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. This is Web Dev Journey, and in today's video we're going to be talking about where to host your Fullstack project. Now before we do that, I do have a quick update, and that is I'm gonna lay low on creating a series for right now. The reason why is because with the upcoming holidays and Black Friday, Thanksgiving, you know how it is, right? You need to plan ahead for all these specials that your company is going to be giving out, whatever. So we're planning. My work is just hectic right now, and I hate this time of year. So with that said, yeah, I don't with all this going on, I don't believe I could give you quality content or a quality series. I won't have time to plan it out, and yeah, I just don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So I'm gonna just lay low for that and create one-off videos like this one, and hopefully this will give you good content, great quality content on still web development related things, right? So with that said, let's just back to the video. That was the update. Back to the video. Now, let's talk about where you should be hosting your services or your full stack application. Now, there's one thing I do want to say, and that is, guys, everybody in this community could tell you, hey, Linode is better, you should be using Linode, or hey, AWS is way better, you should be using AWS. At the end of the day, guys, it's you that's going to be, maintaining your servers, not no one else, not anyone, you. So you need to feel comfortable on how the platform looks, how it feels to you guys. If you prefer customer service more than anything, then go with a different. Obviously, all of them, customer support is not going to be the same for all of them. So if you prefer customer support, go with DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean has fantastic customer support, right? If you prefer something that's a little bit faster than everything else, go with Linode or whatever, right? So I'm just saying that you do need to do your own research on these things, and you do need to just go inside these platforms and start creating servers. Right, because I don't know what you're building. I just don't know. If you're building a WordPress site, there's actually WordPress sites. There's some services that are easier to just host WordPress sites than other services, right? So I don't know what you're building, right? It's just easier for you guys to go in there, start building a server, and start messing around, and then you figure out, hey, this is way better. I like this much more than Linode or Vulture or DigitalOcean, right? So I just wanted to say that before anything, because I know there's going to be hate on this video on saying that, oh, you're doing it because, oh, by the way, I'm not sponsored by any of these. I'm just giving you my 2 cents. So I'm not sponsored, but I don't want guys to be like, well, he has a favorable with DigitalOcean. He likes DigitalOcean, so that's why he's promoting it. No, that's not it. No. All right. I'm just getting that out of the way. You do your own research. Create servers on these platforms. All right. So I will be splitting this off into 2 categories somewhat, right? So on the one category is that you have an application that you've tested and you saw that it has a lot of users and you could be making money off of this application. So this application is going to be very heavy resource, right? It's going to use up a lot of resources, and that's what we're going to be calling it. Resource heavy, right? This application over here is resource heavy. Now, in the other side, we have our budget application. This is your start, I guess, your starter application, right? You created a application and you're trying to see if it's going to go anywhere, if it's going to get enough users for you to actually, spend more time on this. You just want to test the waters for this application, right? So it's kind of your budget build. I'm going to just call it the budget build and heavy resource, right? Those are my 2 categories, heavy resources and budget build. Why am I saying build? Budget application, all right? So let's talk about the heavy resources first, all right? Where would you want to host your heavy resources? And like I said, this is my opinion, guys. For heavy resources, like I said, that it's going to be making you money and you're going to have a lot of users. I would be using one of the big 3, Google, AWS, or Azure. I don't know how to pronounce it. I say Azure, so don't hate. I just don't know. All right. So Google, AWS, or Azure. And with all three of these, they actually offer free things. So for Google, they offer 20 plus free products and 300 free credit. For AWS, they offer 12 months for free, and they give you a lot of services for free. All right. And for Azure, they give you 12 months for popular service for free, 200 credits for the first 30 days, and 25 plus services. That's always going to be free. Now, you might be wondering, well, within those 12 years, why couldn't you just put your budget build inside of those 12 years, since it's basically free, right? And to that, I say, yes, you could absolutely do that. But the thing is, if that budget build doesn't go really anywhere, but you still want it, right? You still want it running, but it doesn't go anywhere in a year. You still want to give it more time. The thing is, with these big threes, after the year is up, bro, the pricing is much more expensive. Not much more, but it is more expensive than DigitalOcean, Vultr, and Linode. Hosting that budget project in one of these VPSs, DigitalOcean, hosting that budget project in DigitalOcean, Vultr, or Linode will be best if it hasn't had time to grow in that 1 year, right? Now, you might be like, okay, that's not a problem. The problem is that you built this budget application using the big three's ecosystem. And let me tell you, it is very complicated to get out of that. It's very complicated to migrate your application to another server outside of the big three. So if I'm hosting that budget server in AWS and I have the database in there, I have my client side, I have my servers, I have load balancers and all this stuff in this AWS account, right? And then in a year that my bill's going to rank up. So I'm like, I need to migrate to, let's say, DigitalOcean. That process of migrating is going to be such a headache. The reason why is because you were already inside of the AWS ecosystem. And yeah, it's going to be such a headache. So that's why I said that, yeah, you can build that budget application within the 1 year, but just be very, very careful. And just be very careful on what you do, because if you do decide to migrate, it's going to be very complicated, right? But more on budget application later. Right now, we're talking about the heavy resources. So why do I say you should be using the big three for heavy resource application? Hold on, I need a drink of my coffee. I gotta tell you that it's coffee, okay? Because I have no idea why. I could have just said easily tequila to make me look cooler or something. I have no idea. I said coffee. Wow. Common YouTuber, right? All right, so why do I say the big three? Now, the reason why I say the big three is because they have a ton of resources that will help you. In the long run, if this is going to be a long run application, which it should be if you're going to be making money, so I'm hoping that's going to be a long run application. In the long run, it's actually cheaper for you to go with the big three. Now, why is it cheaper? Why is it cheaper if you just told us that it's going to be more expensive? Well, the thing is, you got to think about more than just the pricing on like how much does a server cost, how much does the database cost, and all that. The thing is, like, this is just one example, by the way. This is just one example. So with these bigger applications, obviously you're going to have a database, and having AWS, Google, or Azure manage that database for you. And what I mean about manage is, keeping up to date, maintaining it, keeping regular backups on it, right? Doing all that for you is much, much more cheaper than hiring an actual person to do that for you guys. We all know that DevOps it's a very expensive field. So if you hire a person, it's going to cost you way more money than if having AWS doing it for you, right? And that's what I mean about in the long run, it's going to be cheaper for you. Obviously, if you're just looking at it in the aspect of how much does the pricing for an EC2 instance is, and how much is it for a database, and all these things. Yeah, obviously, if you're looking at an aspect, yeah, going to one of these VPSs or Linode, DigitalOcean, what are they called? Going to any of these three over here is going to be much cheaper. But like I said, I'm not looking at that as perspective. I'm looking at it as maintaining it, which, like I said, is going to be a big project. So you're going to have a lot of moving parts, and you yourself are not going to be able to maintain that big of a project by yourself. You might be able to for a short time, but there is going to be a time where you're going to need to bring people in, or you're going to need to tell AWS, hey, I just need you to manage this stuff, so that way I can spend more time on the other stuff. Just letting you know, that's what I mean about in the long run, it's going to be cheaper. Okay. Now that's the good side about it, right? But there are some cons. Pricing isn't very transparent with any of these three, man. They're not transparent at all. You could be spending, it could tell you that you're going to be spending $5 a month, and then at the end of the month, you spend $10 a month, and you're like, what? Why? So yeah, pricing isn't very transparent. Another con is that, bro, they are complicated. They have a lot of running parts, a lot of services, so you're just like, what's going on? Basically, there's a reason why all three of them offer a certificate, to to learn their platform. It's because you need to study their platform to get used to it, to understand how to use their platform, to maneuver around it, right? To move around it freely. You need a certificate for that, and that should tell you a lot. So yeah, complexity is on another level with these three. Now, I will say this, Azure, I did mess around with Azure a bit, and by far, I think Azure is the most easiest one to actually, maneuver around, to play around with, because it's actually, I'm not going to say it's very, very easy. It's easier than these other two, I can tell you that, to maneuver around. But, but yeah, for a heavy source application, I would definitely do one of these three. And that's saying that you've already done your research on that application. You know it's going to be making money, and you know there's going to be tons of users, right? I would use one of these three. Now, going to option 2, your budget option. This is probably one of the options, or this is the option that most of you guys are here watching this video for, right? Your budget application, testing the waters. Now, where would you want to host these at? Obviously, you do not want to host it here. Maybe for the first year, but just be careful. Where would you want to host it? Well, there's a lot of services out there. DigitalOcean, Vultr, Linode, SSD nodes. I'm not going to be covering that one and this one. These are the big three that I know of. I think they're the big three right now, right? DigitalOcean, Vultr, and Linode. But there's more out there, right? And Netlify. There's more out there. There's way more out there. But these are the ones I'm going to be covering. Now, option 2, your budget build. I'm going to be splitting it off into 4 categories. And I actually have it listed right here. The 4 categories is you're gonna need somewhere to host your front end, somewhere to host your back end, somewhere to host your databases, and somewhere to store your images. Right? You need a way to do all these 4 things. And let me tell you, if you're in a budget build, this is actually a very simple solution. And I'll tell you my solution at the very end, because I still use the exact same solution I've always used. Okay. So for client, I would definitely, for your front end, if you're using React, Vue, any static assets, basically, right? Static assets, I will use Netlify, because it gives you a server for free. Well, a shared server for free for static assets. So React, Vue, and maybe if you do have a static website, you could do that. And it's absolutely for free. So you could host your React application, create my React application, that kind of stuff. You could actually host it right here and for free. So if you do have that, then use this. It's for free. So you already have a client already running. We already checked this off. Check. Client is checked. Now let's move on to databases. So I want to talk about databases. Now, databases, you might be wondering, well, I'm going to use what MongoDB? Yeah, MongoDB, right? But actually MongoDB.com is actually a database as a service. You do not want to be using a database as a service. And let me actually show you why. If you go to shared cluster, this is for shared cluster. Let's view pricing. And let's go for the most storage. 5 gigs, right? 5 gigs storage, which is not a lot. It is not a lot by far. That is $25 a month. And this is just for a database, guys. $25 a month. That is a lot. Now you might be wondering, why is it so much? Well, there's actually a good reason why it's a lot, right? So database as a service does much more than what you would think, right? It actually maintains your database, keeps backup copies of your database. It keeps your database up to date. Basically, it does everything for you that you don't have to. Basically, just create a database and let MongoDB take care of everything else, right? That is it. And that's, if you do include those services, this is why it's $25 a month, which is, it's a, you know, it's a good price, I would say, right? $25 a month for all that stuff, but the storage sucks. So that's why I'm saying that don't do database as a service. Do not do it. It's not worth it. So how would you do it? Well, you're gonna have to do it old school fashion, man. You know, create a server, and then in that server you have to build up that database. Postgres, MySQL, MongoDB, it doesn't matter. You got to build it up yourself from scratch on that on the server that you're doing. So, like, where are you going to be hosting it? Now we're focusing on databases, right? We need an actual server for these things. So where do you want to go? Do we go to DigitalOcean, Vultr, Linode? Where? Now, this is the part where I hope you actually did your research and all these things, but for the most part, I'm going to tell you this right now. So if you do decide to go with any of these three, and you decide to go for a shared plan, meaning that you're going to be sharing your resources with other people. Well, shared plans among these three are basically the same. And I'm going to show you. Let me actually go to DigitalOcean and... Ooh, whoa. Okay. Hold on, this one. There we go. Okay. So here's DigitalOcean and here's Linode. And these are shared plans. So for shared plans in DigitalOcean, they're called basic droplets. So for 1 gig of memory, 1 CPU, and 25 gigs, just $5 a month. Right here. 1 gig, 1 CPU, 25 gigs of storage, $5 a month. And it's exactly the same thing for Vultr. Where's that 1 gig? 1 gig of RAM, 1 CPU, 25 storage, $5 a month, right? And we could actually do this for one more. Let's do one more so that way you could actually see it. Yeah, it's basically the same thing. Let's take 8 RAM, 4 CPUs, and 160. All right. So let's do that. 8 RAM right here, 4 CPU, 160, $40 a month, and this is $40 a month. Let's go to Linode. 8 RAM, 4, 160, $40 a month. Like I said, for shared resources, all three of them are basically the same as far as pricing goes, right? The thing is, it's when you start going to dedicated servers. Now, you might be wondering, why would I want to go to dedicated servers? I will tell you this. If you're trying to test out the application, like you're just trying to see how it goes, I would definitely go with a shared resource. Definitely. If you see that it's starting to like pick up traffic, you know, you're starting to get more users and starting to not that much users, obviously, but you're starting to get more users and you're seeing that your performance is lacking. It's time to move on to a dedicated server. Okay, that's when it's time to move on to a dedicated server. Now, dedicated servers are the pricing is out of whack. They're not the same at all. So look, check this out. DigitalOcean for 8 gigs, 2 CPUs, and 25, it's 60. 8 gigs, 4 CPUs, and this one gives you 160 gigabytes. Is actually $60 a month. So you get 2 more cores, and you also get what? 135 more gigs of memory. Of storage for $60. Yeah. You know, so Linode is cheaper, far cheaper than this one. But yeah, like I said, and on dedicated servers, the pricing is going to be somewhat out of whack. Now, this is the part where if you do decide to go to dedicated server, you do need to do your own research on saying what you actually need. Is it what do you care most about? Honestly, this is the part where you have to ask these questions. What do you care most about? Is it the layout of the platform, the ease of the platform? How easy is it to create a server, or how easy is it to create a WordPress website or that stuff, right? That's the part. That's the thing that gets people. If you're tech savvy, if you know how to do these things, and you don't need that much help for customer support, you know, you could just look up Google, which basically everybody does. Dude, I would more than likely, I would go with Linode. Linode is cheaper and it gives you much more things, more resources than this. than any other ones, right? It does. It's actually very, very good. It does give you more resources for the same amount of money that they're offering, right? But if you're not tech savvy and you're actually going to need help, like you need customer support, Linode kind of sucks at customer support. It really does. DigitalOcean is your best bet for customer support. Like, it really is. If you're trying to do a one-on-one with a technical person, DigitalOcean does offer that. Linode doesn't. They'll tell you in a nice way, hey, you might need to check out the forums or the community, right? Ask community. They're going to tell you that. So this is my conclusion. Oh, by the way, sorry, we're still not in conclusion. So for your server and your database as a budget application, you might want to just put that into one server. A good server, by the way. So a good server, right? So let's go back to shared resources. I'm just going to be using DigitalOcean for this because, like I said, the pricing are almost the same. So for our database and our server, our backend Node.js application, I would suggest you get the 4 gigabytes of RAM and 2 CPUs. And the reason why is because, remember, this is shared. So these 4 gigs and 2 CPUs, they're shared. You might not get the full 4 gigs. You might get like 3 or 2, right? So getting this, at least you're going to get somewhat good performance. Like I said, you're just testing the waters, right? So you're going to get good performance for $20 a month. All right. So for $20 a month, you're hosting your database and your server. And your client is for free. So, all right. Now, for right now, we only have these 3, and we're only spending $20 a month. Okay, and this is, like I said, testing the waters. Now, where would you host your images? And that's actually a pretty easy answer for me, anyways. I would actually use one of the services that AWS provides, or Google, or Azure. Now, AWS, let me actually go to it. They have an S3 bucket, and the pricing is very, very cheap. Look at this, 0.023 per gigabyte. For every gigabyte you use, you're going to be paying 0.023 cents for that gig. Man, let's do some calculations. And I think I already did it. All right, here we go. Yeah, so, can I make this bigger? I can't. Damn. All right, so this one actually says, so let's say that you're trying to use 300 gigabytes, right? So 300 times 0.023 is actually $7. So for $7, you could have 300 gigabytes of storage. And this is for AWS. Google, on the other hand, actually charges you 0.026 cents per gigabyte. And if you're using 300 gigabytes, you're going to be charged $8 for 300 gigabytes, which honestly is still not that much. So at most, for 300 gigabytes of images, which is a lot for images, for files, $8. You're going to be spending $8 for 300 gigabytes. Now you have somewhere to store your images, right? So you have your client, which is free, Netlify. You have your server and your databases, which is going to cost you, if you're using a shared resource, it's going to cost you $20 a month. And then for images, if you're doing 300 gigs of images, which I'm pretty sure you're not, but I'm just saying that for whatever. That's $8 a month. So in total, let's just round it up. You're gonna be spending $30 a month, which is nothing, guys, for an application. Now, I might say nothing. I know some people are having hard times, but honestly, $30 a month for a budget application, hosting it to see if it's potential for something great, it's pretty good in my opinion, right? $30 a month is actually pretty good in my opinion. What, you're going to be spending $360 a year? That's not that much, right? $360 a year for a full application being run on pretty good, decent, giving you decent performance. I would say that's pretty good. All right. Now, I haven't really answered where you should do it. Is it in DigitalOcean, Vultr, and Linode? Where would you do it, right? And I'm not going to answer that. I can't answer that. Like I said, you do need to play around with this and figure it out for yourself. But I will say this. DigitalOcean is really, really good at support. Their support is freaking awesome. The Node lacks support, okay? It really does lack support. Like I said, they'll tell you to go to a community or to forums. And Vultr, basically the Node is for the tech savvy, I guess you could say, right? tech savvy people. And Vultr, their pricing is between I'm talking about dedicated servers, all right? Dedicated servers. Their pricing is between DigitalOcean and Linode. So pricings, you do need to see which one's best for you. But if you're looking for a specific like service, like their support, or if it's easier to maneuver around, that's things that you do need to figure out for yourselves, right? You might not, even though I say DigitalOcean has good customer support, you might not like their support. I don't know, right? So it really does depend on you guys. And that's where I'm going to leave this video. So in conclusion, for projects that are already tried and tested and you know it's going to be making money, one of these three. Now, I will say this for that. I will say this for the which one to pick. I would pick AWS. And it's not because I use AWS personally. It's the sole reason is because AWS is popular and it's being used by a lot of companies. So you know that you're going to be backed up by a great platform. AWS is great. I could basically say that for the other two, Google and AWS. I'm just saying that AWS is the popular one, and companies, a lot of companies are using it more than the AWS, more than Google and Azure, right? And this is just for your, high resource projects, for your budget builds, client on Netlify, your database, and your node server or whatever server is going to be in one server, and you could choose either in DigitalOcean, Vultr, or Linode. It all depends on you. And then for your images, for storing your images, just choose one of the big three services. They all offer a some place to store it at, and they're pretty cheap. I use AWS S3. So yeah. By the way, guys, there are going to be links down below in the description on all of these, and they are affiliate links. It would help me out. I'm trying to be full transparency here. It will help me out. So if you do decide to get one of them and you click on the link, I will get a small percentage, which would help me out. And that's one of the ways you can support me, right? If you want to support me more, Patreon down below again. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really do appreciate it, and I actually hope you learned something in this video. I try to do good quality content for you guys, and something that's very resourceful, so that way you could try it out for yourselves. But thank you guys for watching my videos, and hit that like button if you learned something. Comment down below on what's your preferred method of hosting, and also subscribe if you haven't. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thank you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.